Voters, let's talk about it, shall we? Let's bring back our panel. Suhail Khan, member of the RNC Asian Pacific American Advisory Council and a former Bush administration official. Jason Johnson, political science professor and politics editor at The Root. And Tara Dowdell, a Democratic strategist. All right, shall we dig in, guys? My goodness.
Sure.
All right, Tara, I'm going to start with you, okay? Let's say that you are advising Donald Trump. What would you tell him he has to do in order to really resonate with the African American community?
Well, if you want me to be very candid at this point, I don't think there's...
Trump. I'm Donald Trump. Look at me. Yes, see, I'm Donald Trump.
Well,
what would you tell me?
I'm not in the business of advising Donald Trump, but
what would you tell me?
But if I were to do it, I would tell him to stop being condescending towards the African American community, to stop painting the African American community with one broad brush.
But then what's next? Does he go to churches? He's just, he's going to Derek.
Well, I mean, that's a problem, right? Because he's had these pastors on board for quite a while. So you're saying you don't want to go to Chicago because you're afraid for your life. First of all, he's had protests that have gone gotten pretty ugly in cities where there are no black people, or parts of the country where there are no black people. And he said the University of Chicago, actually, University of Chicago is not, there's a small black population at that institution. So that's something that should be corrected. But with respect to Donald Trump, I would tell him to stop acting as if all black people are takers, doing poorly, that we don't make contributions to this country. And if he wants to really appeal to black people, which I don't think he does, but if he did,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that, yes. But if he did, I would say that you want to respect and first of all learn about the black community, learn about our culture, our history, our contributions to this country, and then speak. Okay. Ask us what matters to us,
I'm not
and then
I feel like
speak.
you're fussing at me. All right, let's listen to some of what he had to say yesterday. Take a listen.
Almost 40% of African-American children are living in poverty, abject poverty, including 45% of children under the age of 6. In Detroit, half of its residents do not work.
Jason, what have you found in your reporting? How is Trump's message being received by black voters?
No, they don't care. And here's the thing, but it's not just black people. It's specifically black Republicans. I mean, the thing that I keep pointing out is that Chris Christie, John Kasich, Ted Cruz, George Bush back in 2000, 2004, there are plenty of Republicans out there that do well with African Americans. They can get 10, 15% in their own states. Donald Trump is at 0. Okay, David Duke is actually polling better amongst black people in Louisiana than Donald Trump is nationally. And so if I were actually going to consult Donald Trump, first off, I would say stop using people like, Pastor Darrell Scott. If you can't even go visit the church of your own surrogate, you clearly have no interest in talking to African-American voters. He needs to lean in. He needs to work harder on putting out white voters. And I would go to places like North Carolina and Ohio and say, look, give me all the early voting I can because I need to turn out white voters because I'm not going to get any black and brown ones.
Well,
that would be an honest consultant suggestion.
I'm trying to think of a strategy for you guys. Okay, let's try and talk specifically here. Okay, Suhail, this one's for you. So we all know Trump rose to political prominence by questioning whether the first African-American president was really an American, and has continued to question that even after President Obama released his long-form birth certificate. He's also asked for Obama's college transcript, suggesting that he wasn't a good student, enough to attend an Ivy League school. So maybe if we do specific things, what if he addresses that in order to directly reach out to black voters? Does he have to do something like that as opposed to just talk, but just, take an issue and then just address it and say, you know what? I don't know. I don't think he's going to apologize for it or take it back, but what do you think?
Well, tone and rhetoric do matter, absolutely, Chanel. And I think what would be important in this remaining days of the campaign for Donald Trump and the campaign to really pivot one, not so much on policy, but on rhetoric, including to be a little more humble, and that is to go into communities that really are desperate for help, but to listen and to hear what people have to say, what their concerns are, what they want from a president in going forward, rather than going in there with one-size-fits-all, both opinions, rhetoric, and solutions. I think if the Trump campaign were to do that, to take that tone of one of listening, of being a little more humble, one of humility, to go into various communities around our country to hear what the challenges are, I think you would see a change in the campaign and in the rhetoric surrounding this whole election cycle.
There is some time. Suhail Khan, Jason Johnson, and Tara Dowdell, thank you for talking with me this afternoon.
Thank you.